G'day viewers, how are you? I hope I'm finding you well. I just want to answer some simple questions about the existence of God and how we can know that God does in fact exist. And I believe there are some obvious proofs that we can have of the existence of God. And it's based on the fact of human needs and the fulfillment of those needs. I'll get into that in a bit more detail in a second. But first I'll answer one question that people often ask is, how do we know God exists if we cannot see God, if God is invisible? Well, we know that the air exists. We know that the atmosphere exists. Even though we cannot see it, it's invisible. We know that it exists because we can observe the effect it has on other things in the universe around us. So we can see when the air moves, the invisible atmosphere moves, that it moves the leaves on the trees. It can bend the trees. We can feel the atmosphere, the air on our face. So we know that it exists because of the effect it has on other things in the universe, not because we can see it. So we don't need to see something in order to know that it exists. The observation of the effect it has on the other things in the universe is a proof of its existence. So what I'm going to now give you is my theory of the needs basis proof for the existence of God. So when a baby is born, it has many needs. Actually, one of the needs for children, young babies, to survive is love, believe it or not. Love and affection. If a young baby, an infant, does not receive love and affection, it will die. And yes, this is based on verifiable proof and evidence that in fact does happen to young children if they are neglected as babies, don't receive care, love and attention, let alone just being fed and given sustenance, they will in fact die. So love is a basic human need, and there is something to fulfill that need. Okay, so there are other human beings that can love and care for that infant. So for that need, the need for love, there is something that fulfills that need. Others that have the capacity to love. And in fact, God can love us as well, independently of each other. But there is something to fulfill that need of love in this universe. If we move on to other things on that list of what we need as human beings, one of them I've already mentioned, which is oxygen, air. So as human beings, we need to be able to breathe air, to be able to put oxygen into our lungs, to be able to put that oxygen into our bloodstream. In order for us to survive as biological creatures, as human beings, we need to breathe air. In the absence of air, in a vacuum, we cease to exist. And you know what? There is atmosphere on this planet, so there is something that fulfills that need. If we move on to something else, water. Okay, a human being, if they do not drink water, at some stage they will die of thirst, dehydration, and then you die of thirst. The cells collapse, dry out, and cease to function. And we know that on this planet, in the universe, there is water. Yes, that's right, that H2O molecule that you learned about in science is in this universe, is on this planet. There is water to fulfill the need for human thirst. The need for water is provided. If we move on to something else, food is another thing that we need as human beings. And we know that this universe provides an abundance of food that we can eat. Vegetable or animal, we can eat those things that is provided for us. That need is fulfilled. So you could have an endless list of things that as we need as human beings. I'm not talking about things we want or desire, I'm talking about things we need fundamentally. but for every need that a human being has, there is something to fulfill that need. And I'm suggesting that's not just a coincidence. It's not a coincidence, it's planned. So you move on to the higher things, and eventually you get to the point where you say, okay, if you look at humanity down through the ages, we have always looked for something beyond ourselves, something in the realm of the spiritual, something in the realm of the supernatural. We call this person or this thing, this concept, God. And it's obvious if you look through civilizations down through history, civilizations across nations, across the world today, humanity has a need for God. That's why there are so many world religions, so many religious beliefs and practices, so many spiritual beliefs and practices, all suggesting a deity or God. Even if they believe the universe is God, they still have a belief in a God. So humanity has a need for God. And that in of itself proves that God does exist. Because as I've established before, for every need that we have as human beings, there is something to fulfill that need. So by extension, we have a need for God, and so there is a God, because God fulfills that need. Okay, so you now have to decide, having established that God indeed does exist, who is God, and how does he relate to us? And I am suggesting that that is an answer that can be found in the scriptures of the Bible, and that it finds its ultimate explanation, its ultimate evidence in the New Testaments, where we encounter God in person, in the person of Jesus, the Christ of Nazareth, or Isho in the Aramaic pronunciation. So I encourage you to start reading your Bible today, or get a Bible. Go out and grab one online, buy one at a good bookstore, start having a look, start getting some instruction on what it is to become a Christian, to know God, to know the personal God of Jesus Christ, because it's life-changing stuff. And you will come to see that the prophecies that are in the Bible are in this day and age coming to fulfillment. So the time is indeed short. Time is indeed short. We may not have a lot of time. The return of Christ may be sometime between now and 2030. I'm not saying that absolutely, but I'm saying there's a lot of prophetic evidence to suggest that that is the case. We could be looking at the return of Christ by the end of the 2030s. So God bless. See you guys next time.